Welcome to Clout 941, Sarasota's only live show on local politics and local issues. Tonight we are featuring Suzanne Atwell, candidate for Sarasota City Commission. Elections next week, and we have a lot to get to, but let's jump into the news. First of all, last week our Weasel of the Week was former Sheriff Bill Balkwell, and what we said at the end of that commentary was that new Sheriff Tom Knight was not going to turn that investigation over to a neutral third party. He was going to do it himself, and a lot of people were criticizing that. But what we said is, will the sheriff have the courage to step up and do the right thing and recommend criminal charges against his predecessor? And in fact, Sheriff Knight has done exactly that, recommending that Sheriff Balkwell be charged with felony grand theft. Now the ball is in the court of State Attorney Earl Moreland. Now, State Attorney Earl Moreland is not running for re-election. This is his last term in office. He's been in office for 20 years. So he doesn't have the pressure of having to face an electorate in a few years. It will be very interesting to see what Earl Moreland does. His office is going to make the decision on whether to formally charge Balkwell. If they decide to do it, what that means is next week, former Sheriff Balkwell will be fingerprinted and photographed, and his mugshot will be all over the news, and that will certainly be interesting. By the way, we are a frequent critic of the Herald Tribune, but most of our criticism focuses on the editorial page, although they've endorsed our guest tonight, so we can't be too hard on them. But Anthony Cormier's reporting, he's a very good young reporter, and he has done some fantastic reporting on the Balkwell story and deserves a lot of credit. He is all over this. Another sad, sick twist is that Bill Balkwell stole a chair that cost taxpayers $1,000. They found it in his house when they went to go recover the laptop computer. He had it in his house. First of all, why the heck did we pay $1,000 for a chair for the sheriff at taxpayer expense? That's outrage number one. Outrage number two is he then stole the chair. Unbelievable. It appears quite obvious that for the last 8 years we've had a crook for a sheriff, and that's being brought to light. Finally, on a more positive note, one of my heroes, Sarasota High baseball coach Clyde Metcalf, is going for his 700th win tonight. Clyde Metcalf is a role model, is a hero in our community. He's a model of consistency and excellence at Sarasota High. Their baseball program has sent many individuals to the professional ranks and even more college scholarships and developed a lot of fine young men. Clyde Metcalf is a hero in this community, and he is a fantastic guy, and we hope he gets his 700th win tonight, even though they're struggling a little bit this season. Now, our guest, Suzanne Atwell. Suzanne, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, the election is when?
April 14th.
Are you nervous?
Well, no, I'm not really nervous. It's been, we made it through the primary. The three of us made it through the primary. The runoff is taking a lot out of you. It's quite a bit of time with what I'm doing. So it's getting exciting. We're getting towards the finish line, and I'm ready.
Two parts to a campaign, time and money. Where are you spending the bulk of your time, and where are you spending the bulk of your money?
A lot of the money is spent on mailers. We send out mailers periodically, different types of mailers to strategic homes, strategic lists. My time is very precious to me. I use it to my talents. I knock on a lot of doors. I do a lot of, pardon me?
One-on-one contact.
Yes, I do, one-on-one contact, absolutely. I probably walked, I'm not sure the count at this point, but very strategic lists during the primary. Also, during the runoff, I've done some repeat performances just to keep that going. That one-on-one, you get a return on your investment.
And you establish a bond with people. Don't you think that's the best way to campaign, if you can?
Absolutely. I have learned more about the hue and cry of our city by going door to door, what their concerns are, whether they were concerned about the elected mayor, the roundabout, whatever. They gave me a chance to give my view, listen to them, get a new perspective, and it's just a wonderful way to go.
You know, there are so many neat little neighborhoods and streets in Sarasota, too, when you go door to door. I found neighborhoods, no matter how long you live here, that you know, streets that you didn't even know were there in some cases.
Absolutely. Well, what's interesting about I think I'm well suited to be an at-large commissioner. Ever since I moved here 15 years ago, I've probably run or walked in almost all our districts. So I have a real good feel and a real good purview of the whole city at large.
Do you know if the other candidates in your race are doing a lot of door-to-door? Do you have any idea?
I'm not really sure. I hear that some are doing door-to-door or their team, but I don't know specifically. Okay. I'm sure they probably are. I've seen some on the door knockers.
Okay. When you get there, you don't take them and throw them away, though, do you? You leave them there?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Suzanne, tell us about yourself, your background, what brought you here, and what you do for a living.
All right, sure. I arrived here 15 years ago armed with Higher Education Association experience and a master's degree in clinical psych. I started my professional career here at Coastal Behavioral, then on to Jewish Family and Children's Service, then into private practice.
And as a psychotherapist?
Mm-hmm.
Coastal Behavior does some great work. So what made you want to run for city commissioner?
Well, it's interesting. I ran, as you may remember, 4 years ago for an at-large seat. I think the experiences that I had as a professional and as a volunteer in this community gave me such a perspective on the city. It helped me arm myself with the best and brightest in our community in all fields to be able to parlay that into hoping to make craft policy for our city.
I want to ask you what we call Clout soul-searching questions, okay? Find out a little bit about you.
Mm-hmm.
Name a person in history or past or present that you would like to most sit down and have dinner with and pick their brain, maybe a famous person.
Well, that's interesting. Past or present, dead or alive?
Dead or alive, exactly. Historical or modern? I always stump people with this.
Probably, I'm very involved in literature. Louisa May Alcott,
oh, that's
Virginia Woolf. I'm a very avid reader, and there are so many authors that I would. But if I had to pick, and they're women, I'd probably start with that. Although there are many more, that is a real difficult one. You know.
You know, you mentioned women, and I thought about this. If you didn't win, wouldn't the city commission be all male at that point?
Absolutely. No one has really asked me that. That's interesting that you asked me that. That is fairly glaring, and I'm a believer in a balanced municipal government.
So you think it's important for women to have a voice on the city commission?
Sure. The county commission has 3 and 2.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that today, that if the other 2 guys won, it'd be all male.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's
how
right.
about, what's your all-time favorite movie?
I have to say immediately, and I know this sounds trite and common, but Gone with the Wind.
No, you're the first person that's ever said that.
Really. Yeah. There are many, many, many movies I've seen, but that, to me, is my field, psychodynamics. I'm very involved in the psychodynamics of a situation, relationships, and that period of time.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
How about, what kind of music do you like? Do you have a favorite band or musician?
Again, I'm going to start by saying the easy answer is eclectic. My son sends me REM tapes and is hoping that I would at some point meet Michael Stipe, because I know he and family live around here. And then, of course, Brian Johnson lives in my neighborhood, so he's an AC/DC. I have all their things, too. But I can be pretty Dove Radio or Oldies 107, absolutely.
You're very diverse, then, when it comes to your music.
Absolutely. I have every station plugged on a different channel.
Okay. Last background question, and then we'll move on to some other issues-related stuff before when we come back from our break. How about a hobby that you have that maybe would surprise somebody about you, something that interests you?
Well, it's not a hobby per se. I've been a runner, and I culminated that in running the Marine Corps Marathon with my son, who's a major in the Army, and that was something that I'm extremely proud of, and I will not tell you what my time was. And I've been a runner. I gave up running, so now I'm more into walking the neighborhoods.
That's good training for the door-to-door, huh?
I'm in very good shape for that type of thing. Absolutely, absolutely. But I gave up running. That and tennis. I used to play a lot of tennis, but pretty much gave that up when I became very, very busy in the community.
Okay, when we come back from our first break here, we're going to tackle some of the campaign issues with Suzanne Atwell.